Welcome back everybody, High Tech Lab here. Today I'm going to be cutting a hole here in the ceiling in the electrical room for the air conditioner. If you take a look here, I have some cardboard over top of the batteries because we're going to be working above them. That's to make sure nothing falls on them and shorts out, as well as I don't want to get any dirt on the batteries. So I have this Craftsman oscillating tool with a wood blade on it. I'm going to use this because it has a pretty thin cut and I don't want to take a bunch of wood that's going to leave sawdust everywhere. And I ended up using a jigsaw because that multi-tool oscillating cutter really took a long time and was difficult to use.
What?
Your head's inside the square. How the hell am I not going to get your face?
I don't know.
So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is take a drill and drill straight up in the four corners, and that will be my mark on the other side of the container so I know where to draw my line and cut from. One thing to be mindful of is where the stuff falls when you're working on the ceiling. In my case, I'm right above the batteries, so I have this welding blanket here to catch any shavings or chips that may come down and cause a short. So as you can see, we are here on top of the container now, and I actually cut down all of these solar trackers, and if we look over here, I actually have the new ground mount racks going up, building a few more you can see here on the right. And lastly, you can see there is just a pile of scrap metal down here, and that's all the solar trackers used to be. So here we've located our 4 holes that we drilled from below, and now I'm going to take a framing square and line up between the 4 holes and go ahead and make a mark as best as I can, even though this is a corrugated surface. And then I'm going to bring the framing square again between the next hole and draw a line, and then finally between the last holes and draw a line. So I actually had to remark this square. If you see, this outer square here is where I'm going to cut, because when I went 16.5, it was 2 inches bigger than the 14.5 inch cutout I needed for the air conditioning unit. But I forgot, since I'm welding 2-inch square tube, I need to deduct 2 inches on each side. So this outer square is 18.5 by 18.5 inches, and that's where I'll weld in the square tube to the container to create a nice flat surface that air conditioning unit can sit on. To cut this material, I have a Satetech 045 cutoff wheel on a Ryobi angle grinder, and I'm just going to use that to cut all the way around and remove this piece of metal.
Dexter's welding up some brackets for the electrical room so that we can put an air conditioning unit in here. So he's on top of the shipping container, TIG welding the system that's going to hold the AC unit. So here's Dexter. He's got the AC unit that we're going to be installing on top of the shipping container. So he's going to tractor it over there on a forklift attachment. There's all them old batteries right there. There's all those wet lead acid batteries we took out. And there goes the fast AC guy. Yeah, he's going to make sure he mixes up the Freon really well before he gets it up there on top of the roof. These solar panels right here, these are the ones that we are grid tied. So we basically have a grid tie set up on some of the solar panels that goes straight into the inverter. So like when the ACs are running and things like that, this is pumping electricity into them. Again, there's the generator, 14 kW, 300 gallons of diesel fuel. And here's Dexter. He's gonna get that air conditioning unit up there on top of that shipping container. If he doesn't drop it on that rubber house. Little more. There you go. All right, that's that. Now we got to go climb up on top of the shipping container, fill a hole.
So as you can see here, I had to move forward a little bit. I have the air conditioner unit installed and it's running right now. I'm going to go ahead and show you inside what I've got going on. Now this is only set on here and there are a couple of clamps holding it in place, but ultimately it's going to get bolted down and properly secured. Proof of concept, the unit works. Now this was a used unit, so I was also trying to go ahead and get it on and powered up to make sure it works. without further ado, let's go downstairs and check it out. Okay, as you can see here on the left, I have a piece of conduit coming out of my wireway and a junction box here, and the AC unit is in the hole and blowing. The air comes out of that hole in that back corner, and it's held down with the C-clamp that you can see right over here. The confusing part for some of you guys will be what the different wires on the AC unit do. I have 6 wires coming out. Now, let's start with the easiest ones. The green one was ground in my case. The white one was neutral, and that follows standard color coding. The blue wire, dark blue wire, was the compressor pump. The black wire was the fan high speed. The red wire was the fan low speed, and the yellow wire was the fan medium speed. All that I had to do was pull some wire through my wireways, which very conveniently lead down and over to the control panel. Inside of the bottom of the control panel, I enter my wires through here on the left. You can see the 3 black wires, and run up here through into my wireway and across to here. Now the relay on the left is the one that runs the compressor motor for the air conditioning unit. So this is a double pull, double throw relay. So one of the legs goes through and runs that compressor, and that pulls 10 amps at 120 volts. So this 15 amp relay is more than sufficient for that. And the other leg of the double pull, double throw runs out and into this other relay, and we're only using one of the poles, but all that does is that toggles one way for low, which it's normally on, and then the other way for high, which is what it's sending power to when the contactor is energized. So if I were to actually flip down this little test tab, you can hear in the background the additional fan noise as that unit goes on to high. The yellow and blue wires feeding into the relays come out of this PLC. The yellow wires come out of the relay and go into my I/O modules here, where then I can program through the PLC how to control those relays. Additionally, right here I have this yellow and red wire. Those wires go to a thermocouple, and this module on the PLC interprets the voltage reading on those wires and then allows me to process that data within the PLC. What I have here on my touchscreen panel is a new button called Climate Control. If I press that button, that brings up this new screen that I'm still partially working on. You can see in this corner I have the current temperature of the room. It's 75.7 degrees. I can set my desired temperature here. It's currently set at 72, but I could just touch that box and type in the new temperature. Let's say if I wanted it 71. I can type that in, hit enter, and the new temperature set is 71. Let's set that back to 72 degrees, because that's a nice temperature. And what's going to happen is when the current temperature is above the desired temperature, it's going to turn on the air conditioner, assuming it's enabled here. Now it's going to start cooling the room until the room reaches 1 degree below the desired temp, and that's the cutout differential. So when the room reaches above 72 degrees, it'll turn on the air conditioner and shut it off once it reaches the desired temperature minus the cutout differential. Now this is programmable, so I can say if I want it to go 3 degrees below the desired temperature, it'll do that. It's all fully programmable. Another thing I have set up is this right here. It's called second stage temperature, and that's set at a 4 degree difference. So let's say the desired temperature is 72 degrees, and we actually hit 76 degrees, which is 4 degrees more than the desired temp. It'll then kick on the second stage and put the fan on high. So if we were to get 3 degrees warmer in the room, it would then go into the next stage and further try and cool the room off quicker. So if we set this to 3 degrees, enter, and since we're 72 degrees, the second stage temp is 3 and we're 75, it should kick into the second stage. Now one thing that is programmed into here to keep things safe is there is a 30-second delay between reaching the second stage temperature and actually kicking in the second stage, and that's to ensure if there's any fluctuations, very minor in temperature, it doesn't keep kicking that fan low, high, low, high, low, high. It actually waits a second, and make sure that we're at that temperature where that second stage is required. Once we drop below the second stage temperature, it will then go back into the low stage and continue cooling the room until the desired temperature minus the cutout differential is reached at the current temperature. All this programming was done in the Quick Programming software, and this here is my ladder program. Now this is actually pretty difficult to program, and unfortunately if I were to share my file with you, it wouldn't work unless you had exactly the same setup and I/O. However, there are plenty of videos here on YouTube, or also provided by the company that makes this software, and they are free of charge, and you can actually download and start fiddling with this software on your own. That's the reason why I went with this, because it's very powerful and very low priced. There will be a link in the description for this software, of course. One thing to note is this air conditioner is powered by this 20 amp breaker located in my split bus panel. And the really cool thing about it is, since these are all controlled by the PLC, I'm able to actually turn on that inverter that feeds that split bus panel only when it's required. And the reason for wanting to turn it on and off on this inverter is twofold. First off, if the inverter on the right is powering most of the loads on the ranch, and I have an additional 13.5 amps of load on the system from this air conditioning unit, it becomes easier and easier, slowly but surely, to overload that inverter. By keeping my load separated and using this inverter only when needed, I save power because this inverter has a 3.7 amp draw just to have it on. The efficiency on these inverters really is lacking. So the need for either more efficient inverters or control systems that keep the inverters off as much as possible is very desirable. Unfortunately, there aren't very many inverters on the market that have the capacity I need in the efficiency I desire. Well, I think that about covers it. If you guys learned something in today's video, be sure to leave a thumbs up below. If you'd like to see more videos like this where I automate simple things and build my own controls, be sure to subscribe, as I plan to do much more like this. Be sure to comment any questions below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!